my orgasms contribute to humanity. My joy contributes to humanity. My nourishment contributes to humanity. I got to understand that me being in my best, most free, most aligned, most alive expression is my offering. Me feeling good is of service to humanity. In today's episode, I talk about why and how your aliveness is your biggest service. We go into understanding different ways in which we humans buy into really martyrdom-led stories, how those could be impacting your leadership and your life in deep ways, and what you can do to start cleaning the energetics of your leadership, bring about a lot more play, a lot more fun, a lot more pleasure into your life, into your relationships, into your leadership, and really how to choose yourself in a new way. And some big life-changing realizations I had around service, leadership, and pleasure that fully transformed my life and my service to the world, and can do the same for you. Let's dive in. Your aliveness is your biggest offering. Your aliveness is all that there's needed from you. There's no other reason why you're on earth more important than this. Nothing else you need to do. Nothing else that is requested of you than to fully live, to make the most of this experience. This is something that I battled with for so long. I, as a humanitarian and someone that cares so much about the world and humanity and all beings and the liberation of all beings, struggle to really believe this, to really know this, because for so long I bought into the idea that I had to suffer and struggle to be worthy of being on this earth. And this sounds dramatic, and I definitely didn't know this is what I was buying into. But when I got really to the root of it, I saw this is what was happening. I didn't believe I was worthy just because. So I thought I had to work really hard and do everything for everyone and try to save the world and give all of me to humanity just to deserve a place here. And again, I've never had those thoughts like this. I never knew this is what was happening. I just always felt I was a really big humanitarian and I cared so much, and I would cry over people's suffering since I was a kid. I was such a sensitive person since always. But what I came to realize is that there was an underlying story that I had to earn my place here. And I want to share this with you because chances are some of this might be true for you as well. If you are in the world in any way, serving, leading, supporting, helping, in any way, through your career or simply in your life, through motherhood, through partnership, if you find yourself being the helper, the giver, the supporter, the one that hears, the one that's there for others, the one that does, and there might be some of this for you. And again, it sounds dramatic, But sometimes we need to make it dramatic so that it really lands. So let these land. For so long, I had this deep desire to do something big to help the world. I remember actually when I was, I think, 14 years old, and I first got permission to go and do things outside of my house on the weekends. I could go out with my friends and go to things and go around the city. My mother first gave me permission, and I went to one of those centers where they feed for free homeless people. So homeless people can go there and have free meals. And that's what I chose to do with my free Saturday. I just wanted to give. I wanted to give. So it was always in me. There was always a part of me that was inspired by humanitarianism and doing those sort of things. When I was 18 years old, I went backpacking to West Africa by myself and found myself helping and bringing clothes and medicines and different, medicines, pharmaceutical drugs and things like that to people that didn't have access to those things. That's what I chose to do with my free summer. There was always a part of me that wanted to be of service. And there's something about that that's still very authentic to me. It's still in my essence to want to give, to want to nurture, to want to take care of people. It's who I am, or part of my essence once again. However, the shadow side of that I recognize, that I really want us to explore today, is I ended up doing those things at the expense of myself. And so my invitation through this conversation is for you to start to notice where you have bought into the idea that in order to be of service to others, you need to sacrifice yourself. Mothers, where are you buying into this? I'm not sure I've met one mother that hasn't played this story. And of course, there's some validity to it. There's some really valid points. And it doesn't work long term for anybody involved. Same thing for service-based entrepreneurs, healers, coaches, people that are really interested in supporting others. There's a shadow side to this. If you're sacrificing, if you're buying into the idea that you need to sacrifice yourself to be of service to others, then you're missing the point. Because if everybody is benefiting from your service but you, that is not service, it's self-neglect. So the invitation in this conversation is to start here. Where have you bought into the idea that in order to help others, to be of service to others, to be a good person, doing something good in the world, you need to sacrifice yourself and put your needs and your desires aside? What I realized through deep exploration, is that there were a few points at play. So first of all, I remember going to a ceremony once, and on my way, I was entering the forest, and on my way to it, I had this thought randomly that landed for me, where I was like, what if the world was completely healed? What if there was no more healing needed? If nobody needed my help, nobody needed a coach anymore, nobody needed a support person anymore. What if nobody needed anything anymore? What if everybody was completely healed, completely transformed, completely happy, completely abundant, completely had access to resources in all of the ways, everything they needed? What if that was a reality? What would happen then? Could I be happy? Could I feel good about myself without needing to be something for someone else? And it was such a great question for me to sit in and start exploring any parts of my ego that perhaps had an attachment to being the one that knows, the one that helps, the one that coaches, the one that heals, the one that this, the one that. It was such an amazing exploration for me to really get to look at, okay, are there any aspects of my wounded ego that are still getting attached to being or doing this? And if so, why? Where is this coming from? And I invite you to ask yourself those questions. How are you going to feel? Who are you going to be the day that nobody needs you? If you woke up tomorrow and nobody needed you, your husband, your children, your clients, everybody, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your best friend, if nobody needed you anymore, if everybody was so well resourced, so happy, so together that you could only share life with them, share experiences with them, have fun with them, make art with them, but your help wasn't needed anymore, how would you be? How would you feel? And would you know your place in the world? And this is something so important to ask ourselves, because until we can fully, wholeheartedly, in an embodied and integrated way say yes, we're not actually able to fully help others. Because energetically, and I'm talking subtle energetics, but they're always at play and they have a huge impact in everything we do and every single dynamic and interaction we have. So energetically, what's happening is we're helping someone, but always keeping them a little bit less healed, a little bit less resourced, a little bit less fill in the blank, so that we can continue to have our place. That aspect of our ego seeks survival like everything else. Everything in the universe seeks to survive. So this aspect of our undealt with ego, wounded ego, call it however you want, will also seek to survive. So it will continue to recreate scenarios where she or he can be needed. So we're not actually fully, wholeheartedly, openly, freely supporting those around us, because a part of us needs them to need us. So this is so sneaky. Yet if we actually want to see transformation in the world, if we actually want to see all beings be liberated from suffering, if we actually want to make an impact that is truly congruent and sovereign, then we need to look at this. So I invite you to ask yourself those questions. And an exercise I did that I share with my clients at times that I love. A friend of mine was studying with this, he says, awakened master. I haven't met him, and I have a little bit of skepticism around the idea of awakened masters. And he says he's an awakened being. And through this, he shared a concept or idea of what would you do in heaven and earth if there was no longer suffering, and like I was saying before, nobody needed you anymore, then what would you do? And from there, I took it upon myself to write 33 things that I would do. If I didn't need to make money, if I didn't need to help anyone, if I didn't need to be there for anyone, again, if everybody was so empowered and so amazingly awesome in all ways, then what would I do with my life? If I didn't need to be a coach, I didn't need to make money, I didn't need to help anyone, I didn't need to be there for anyone, I didn't need to nurture anyone, what would I do with my life? And it was amazing to start writing down those things. And I invite you to do this for yourself. Start writing down those things that you would do if we were living in heaven and earth reality already. And by that I mean Healing isn't needed anymore. Nobody needs to make money. We've got everything we need. Everything is provided for us. We have access to all of the resources that are actually our birthright already on earth. We have access to everything we need. And so our only job is to create, to have fun, to make art, to make love. What would you do then? In my list, I had cooking. I love cooking. I had playing a million different instruments. I had singing. I had surfing. I had most definitely lots of love making. I had lots of different things that I would do with my time if I just didn't have to do anything else than just enjoy my life. And this was so powerful and so helpful, because then the next invitation I've got for you that I took myself through as well is start identifying a few things each week or each month on this list and start doing those things now. Start focusing on those things now. So last year, for example, and I'll do a whole other episode on this, that I may be launching before this one. I don't know. So you may have already heard this. But there are so many different things that I did last year for the sake of doing things, for the sake of my heaven and earth reality. Nobody needs me. Everybody that needs me or think they need me or I think they need me can wait. I am going to focus on creating this reality for myself where I can serve from a truly free place. Not because I need anything from anyone, not because I want them to need me, not because, just because my cup is overflowing and I feel so good. So I'm just going to give from that space. So I started to do things that I had friends saying, you're doing all of the things that I wish I did in my childhood. And that's how I felt. For example, I took a private class with an ex-Olympian synchronized swimmer. And she did a class or taught me how to water dance. And I learned how to do all of these different things in the water, to like turn around and lay down and like spin and do all of these different things. And it was so fun. And there was absolutely no desired outcome. There was absolutely no goal. There was absolutely nothing I was going to teach other people after learning this. It was simply for the sake of me dancing in the water, for the sake of me knowing how to be like a mermaid in the water, which is something that my inner child absolutely adored. Then when I was like 8 years old through to, I don't know, like many years, I did artistic roller skating competitions. The ones that are like spinning and doing all of the things, leg up and like cartwheeling with skates, all of the things. And I loved it. I did it for years. I trained so hard. I loved it. And then I hadn't skated for years. So last year, I took a private roller skating lesson in Austin with a teacher. I literally went online, researched, and found a teacher to do this private lesson with, just to see what my body remembered, what I could still do, and just to have fun. Again, I wasn't going to teach anyone anything roller skating related. I wasn't going to make a super powerful post or like inspiring book or write quotes about my learnings from roller skating. I wasn't going to do anything related to serving other people or helping other people or being there for other people or achieving something. I did it for the sake of it, for the sake of enjoying my life. And like this, sensual dance classes. I'm now going to go to bachata and salsa lessons. I grew up in the Dominican Republic, for those of you that don't know, and I love salsa dancing, bachata, and all of those things. And I haven't for a long time because in Australia, it's not generally a thing that Australians do. So I'm going to classes to dance, to enjoy myself without any goal or desired outcome other than just the joy of it. So I really invite you to write down this list and start getting clear on what are some things. You may start like me with 33 things. that you would do on heaven and earth if nobody needed you, if nobody needed anything from you? Start asking yourself that. Then pick at least one of those things a week. If you really, really, really want to make your aliveness your compass, pick at least one of those things a week and do it. Do that thing just for the sake of it, just for the sake of enjoyment, for the sake of fun, for the sake of curiosity, for the sake of play. Do that thing. Then what I invite you to do, once you've written down what I said at the start as well, really getting curious around where you've bought into the idea that in order to be of service, you need to self-sacrifice. Get clear on your non-negotiables and schedule your life around that. What I mean by this is get clear on what exactly are the things that you do not wish to negotiate on. That even if the world was burning, you would want to prioritize. And they can be many different things. For some people those things are meditation. For some people it's time with their kids. For some people is time to eat. Like, for example, I eat really slow. I chew my food really well. So I'm a no to fast eating. It's just, it doesn't serve me. It doesn't work for me. So having a 10-minute lunch break is a no-go for me. It doesn't work for me. So one of my non-negotiables is at least half an hour to eat. I don't like to eat rushed. I don't like to feel like I need to just swallow my food without chewing. It just doesn't work for me. It creates stress in my body. The energy of rush is one that I do not enjoy. So that's a non-negotiable. I schedule my life around that. And if there are days where there's no space for that, then I schedule my meals in a different way so that whenever I eat, I can do it with the spaciousness and relaxation that I desire. For other people, it might be finishing work at a certain time. For other people, it might be having Mondays off, having Fridays off, having at least 4 days a week off, having at least 1 day a week off, whatever it is. Your non-negotiables will be different to everybody else's, but really get clear on what yours are and start prioritizing those things. Because while we may think that in order to be of service in the world, we need to work super hard and put all of our needs and desires aside, actually, your aliveness is your biggest offering. It took me a while to understand this and to fully allow it to land. But my orgasms contribute to humanity. My joy contributes to humanity. My nourishment contributes to humanity. I got to understand that me being in my best, most free, most aligned, most alive expression is my offering. Being of service to others doesn't need to look like martyrdom or self-neglect. And it's important that we start to reclaim this, to know and really know this. There is an energy field that surrounds us all. Everything is energy. And this energy field, this energy grid is impacted by each of our energies, each of our moods, each of our expressions. So when we are stressed and experiencing scarcity and frustration and in any way contraction, that is what we are feeding the grid. So everybody's getting impacted by that. Everybody. And we don't start to understand this until we have enough shamanic journeys or start to really understand energy. But once you've really been in spaces where you can start to see the layers of reality beyond the 3D world, beyond what we see here and now, we start to understand that actually energy is impacting us and everything around us all of the time. So if you can visualize this, a grid of energy, a grid of energy that goes between each person and each thing in the world. Almost like the atmosphere. That gets fed by each of our expressions. And an expression can be a mood, it can be a feeling, it can be a thought, it can be a pattern. Each of our expressions. When our expression is one of relaxation, it's one of joy, it's one of pleasure, it's one of contentment, it's one of gratitude. That is what we're sending back. That is what we are feeding the grid. And that is of service. That is contributing to humanity because we're all connected to that grid. So we're all receiving from that. When what we are feeding and giving back to this is stress, self-neglect, self-doubt, in any way, self-abuse, gaslighting ourselves, being mad at ourselves, putting our emotions down, putting everybody first, and then being super stressed and super malnourished and super mal-rested and all of those things. That is what we are feeding the grid. And everybody is being impacted by it. Perhaps in a really subtle way. But we are. So it's really important to understand, like I was saying at the start of this episode, that at times we believe we need to fight for a place on earth. We need to work super hard to be worthy of having a little bit. That we need to work super hard to be worthy of being here. And that's really what's underneath. That is why we work so hard to be of service to others and to make sure that other people need us. They need us so that we can feel valuable and we can feel like they're not going to abandon us again. If I make myself needed enough, if I make myself valuable enough, if I make myself helpful enough, if I make myself easy enough by pushing all of my needs aside and just pouring onto others, then I may be able to avoid being hurt again. I might be able to avoid being rejected, abandoned, betrayed again. The truth is, there's nothing you can do to avoid the lessons you came here to learn. So if you need to be rejected, experience rejection. If you need to experience abandonment, if you need to experience betrayal, again, trust me, you will. And betraying yourself first isn't making it any better. Abandoning yourself first isn't helping. Rejecting yourself first doesn't make any sense. We reject ourselves, abandon ourselves, betray ourselves, trying to avoid being rejected, abandoned, and betrayed by others. But how does that make any sense? And how can we expect the world to give a feedback to us that's different than what we are sending to the world? If I send an energy of I neglect myself, I reject myself into the world, what is going to come back as feedback? More of the same. When instead I choose to really work on anchoring this knowing that I am worthy of being here just because, that my aliveness is of service, that my joy is of service, that me enjoying this chance to be on earth in this lifetime here now is all I need to do. When I can embrace this, I'm sending back into the world an energy of choosing myself, prioritizing myself, taking care of myself, honoring myself. And the feedback that I will receive back will be the same. Because the world is just going, yes, 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 yes. Whatever you say, yes, yes. So if you go, I am not worthy, the world goes, yes, you're right. If you go, I need to work really hard to have a place on this earth, yes, you're right. If you go, my needs don't matter, yes, you're right. So when we start to go, my needs matter, yes, you're right. I get to just be here and enjoy my life. Everything else is a cherry on top. Yes, you're right. My service is being here. Yes, you're right. I am capable of anything from a space of ease and freedom. Yes, you are right. So really tune into the essence of what I'm sharing here and let it really land. Feel in your body whether this resonates as true for you and see where you've caught. Maybe you can catch yourself still in this idea that you need to work super hard. Because what if you're here to play? What if you're here just to be multi-orgasmic? What if you're here just to have so much fun and laugh so much? And your expression inspires so many, nourishes so many, is a permission slip for so many, without you needing to effort your way through life. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't create courses, that you don't give speeches, that you don't have podcasts, that you don't write books, that you don't have children, that you don't have relationships, that you don't nourish others. And that doesn't mean that you need to let go of all of that. But the context determines the content. So if your context is one of martyrdom, that is actually what you're giving away. If your context is one of joy, of full self-reverence, of full self-honoring, that is what you're giving to the world. And we can only ever lead by example. So if you want to help the world, be an inspiration, be an example, be a permission slip for others to also honor themselves, to also experience more joy, to also experience more freedom, to also experience more peace, to also experience more relaxation, because that is what we need more of in the world. Martyrdom, self-neglect, self-punishment, we've got enough of that. Let's bring something different. So remember, being of service to the world does not need to look like self-neglect. Does not need to look like putting yourself last. It can very well look like fully embracing your aliveness, fully putting yourself first, fully prioritizing those things that actually matter to you. And when you allow this to really land, when you allow this to really be carried forward through the way you be, the impact you will create in the world will be so different. Perhaps with the same amount of effort, the same amount of hours, work hours, the same amount of fill in the blank energy, time. But the impact will be that much more powerful because it will be anchored in congruency. It will be anchored in values that we really want to bring forth for humanity. I remember actually receiving a healing session, a water healing session, that later on I went on and trained in this modality, by the way, just for the sake of it, just for the fun of it as well. But I was receiving this session. It's called Healing Dance. It's a branch of Watsu. And they make you float in the pool. It's a heated pool and you're floating there. And the facilitator is holding your head and sort of your pelvic bone area so that you can really relax and let go. And I was there, and at some point they put a clip on your nose if you want, if you choose to do immersions, submersions, and then they submerge you underwater. So I was laying down in the pool, submerged, completely submerged. My head was underwater, and this guy was moving me around. So I was floating from one side to the other inside this pool. And it was sunny outside. We were in another pool, amazing pool in Bali. And so the sunshine was coming in. And I could feel the rays of sun. Like I could see different colors even though my eyes were closed. And I could see shadows and light. Just, it was so beautiful, so magnificent. And I was being moved and it was warm and I was so comfortable. It was so amazing. I was in total bliss. And in that moment, I asked the water within myself, I said, how can I be of service to the world? How can I be of service to you? And story for another time, but my love for water, my connection with water is so strong. And I was asking her, how can I be of service to you? How can I give more to you? You give so much to us. Now even like healing sessions in the water. Are you kidding me? Like you already feed me and hydrate me and wash me and cleanse me and allow me to serve you. And like, really? Now also this? Oh my God. So I was like, how can I give back to you? And what I received, the message that I received was in this way. your bliss is your offering. My bliss, and I could see it so clearly in that moment and feel it so clearly. My bliss was impacting the energy that my body was letting out through this expression of bliss was impacting the water. So the water was also receiving my bliss. And this is where I was able to understand and really see, oh, of course, when I am feeling super well nourished and rested and I come in contact with anyone, they get fed from this energy. So all of a sudden I can have a centering effect on people. I can, without saying a word, without coaching, without inspiring quotes, without anything, just with my presence, I can help someone ground more deeply. I can just be in a way that can remind someone without words, without mentorship, without courses, without anything. Can just remind someone that they too can tune into this, can choose this for themselves, can step into this, can express this, experience this. In the same way, me being in my joy, my radical self-expression and creating big, amazing things can be a permission slip for others to see how far they can actually take it. I have friends that are so extra in my experience, in my opinion. And I love being around them because they're constantly a reminder of how much further I can actually take it. And they're not coaching me, they're not teaching me, they're just in their bigness. They're just taking up space. They're just being loud. They're just in their radical expression. And that, without them trying and making an effort to be of service to me, is being of service to me. Because it's a reminder of how far I can actually take it. Like, oh my God, if they went that far, I can take it way further and be okay. So really, really, really allow this to land. Your aliveness is your offering. Your expression is your offering. And if you follow through with the questions and the exercises that I shared in this episode, you will find that you will be able to start creating an identity for yourself that is anchored in this. In bliss, in expression, in permission, in joy, in spaciousness, in pleasure, versus in martyrdom. If you really ask yourself these questions, if you really do these exercises, you'll be able to start creating space for a new version, a new expression of you to come online. Because the good news is that none of it is you. Everything you've believed about yourself up until now, everything you've told yourself that you are, is just a story. None of it is actually who you are. Everything we tell ourselves, about who we are and what we like and what we don't like and how we can behave and how we cannot behave, those are just stories. Great stories, valid stories, but just stories. All of our personalities are made up. So you may as well just make it up in a way that serves you. Because I'll say it again, if your service is serving everyone but you, that is not service, it is self-neglect. So go out there, have some fun, have some really juicy orgasms, enjoy your life, and see how much more impactful it is to live, lead, love, and serve from your overflow. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that it landed for you in a valuable way. If you want more of this content, be sure to subscribe so you get notified when new episodes are released. And since you're already here, if you want to leave us a rating and a review, that would be so deeply appreciated. You can also find me on Instagram at Sigrid Tasies for more free, transformational, and inspirational content. And if you want to receive updates on all of the different things, offers, events, free resources that we have for you, then come and join my inner circle go to sigridtasies.com/inner circle and subscribe over there. I will leave all of the links in the show notes for you, and I will connect with you on the next episode. Lots of love.